Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for this 15-minute knowledge drop. We're excited to welcome you today and especially pleased to introduce you to our guest speaker, Eric Engel, Chief Physicist at Research Laboratories. Research have been a valued partner of ours since the early days of our journey here at Leo Cancer Care, and we're grateful for their continued collaboration and support. Please note that our solutions are still in development and will not be used to treat patients until the necessary regulatory clearances have been achieved. If you have any questions about today's topic, feel free to leave them in the questions box and we'll respond to them directly after the webinar. With that, I'll hand over to Eric to take us through today's session.
Yes, thanks a lot. Great to be here. So as you might know, Research is based in Sweden. We have the Swedish flag here. And we just recently, on Friday, celebrated the Midsummer Eve. So that's when we celebrate the longest night of, or the shortest night, actually, the longest day of the year, when we have a lot of daylight. We dance around the midsummer pole, we eat a lot of herring, strawberries, drink schnapps, of course, and sing songs. So that's our unofficial national day, actually. And when celebrating this on Friday, I realized that this midsummer pole actually went from recumbent to upright position in quite a short time. So that was interesting. And just like half an hour after that, I saw my friend Magnus. He was just lying down, taking a nap on his stand-up paddle board. And I realized and said to him, you should actually be upright. That's a better posture for that. You might now think that this is a bit of cheating. It should be in the water and not just like standing like that, which is normally also the case for upright, that people think that this is not readily used. It's a technique that's interesting, but it is not yet tested. Well, I would say it has already been used at a few centers, and most notably in Chicago, where more than 700 patients have been treated over the past 13 years. It has mostly been eye treatments, but also brain and spinal cord, head and neck, some lung. So it has not yet been tested for all of the different sites, but that shouldn't prevent us from seeing the potential of this technique, actually. And we might not need to think of it as a silver bullet solution. We can see it that it might be a silver bullet solution, but it could also have a merit if it makes a part of the radiotherapy mix. So at Chicago, they combine the chair solution with a gantry. That's the same thing they do at University of Wisconsin, and many other centers have different varieties of treatment machines, and you can think about that also with a chair, that could fit well into your radiotherapy mix. But of course, there are a lot of potential with upright, and why do we really want to do this? What are the future advancements that we could see coming, and which are the new opportunities? So this is what I would like to talk about, these future potential, what we can see. So one thing is on the hardware and system side is that you can really get a readily integrated imaging during treatment. For example, you can do MR guided protons. So doing what you do today with Linux, you could do that as well with protons, of course, making it a bit more complex with the magnetic field and the bending protons, but still very interesting. Online and real-time adaptive would be very neat to do in an upright position where you can integrate it with your imaging directly. You can think about the delivery verification for all types of modalities, ions, protons, and also photons, which makes, of course, things easier when you have a fixed beam and can have detectors that are also stationary. And then, of course, on the other end, we also have a way to make easier and faster hardware changes when you have a fixed beam. You don't need to fit an MLC to a rotating gantry, you can build an MLC with large motors, which makes a very fast collimation of your beam. If you would like to go for spatially fractionated radiotherapy with grid blocks, also easier just to fit it on a stationary holder, range shifters, and energy selectors for ions, etc. All of this becomes easier if you are in a fixed position. And then we can also see that new treatment techniques could evolve in this setting. So going for helical arcs, that's possible in a gantry-based system, but it might actually be easier to translate the patient vertically while rotating, and you don't need to worry as much about collisions. If you want to do proton and ion arcs, it can actually be more cost efficient and easier in an upright solution. If we want to do combined treatments with protons and photons and co-optimization, that's an interesting topic. Or you could do protons with the Bragg peak and show through protons together. And if we look into new modalities like very high energy electrons for flash or other future technologies, would benefit from having a fixed beamline and instead rotating the patient. So what we see is that this simplification of the technique actually also enables advancement. It does not only make it simpler, it also makes it possible to advance things. And much of this is done through arcs. We have recently seen the proton arcs coming to clinical use. So that was done fall last year, where the clinic in Trento started to treat patients with static proton arcs on their gantry system, and they have treated 20 patients to date. And what happened was that they started with IMPT beams that were really state of the art with 7 different field directions with range shifters in some part of the beam and then without range shifters in other parts of the beam, and non-coplanar. This could be then just changed to a proton arc, which was coplanar with 15 to 20 directions. And the treatment planning was actually made simpler and also with the treatment delivery in such a case. And just as going from very complex non-coplanar beam setups to coplanar arcs actually makes the transition to upright easier, since there we don't have the same possibilities of non-coplanar beams. So that is the next step. And what is actually the most striking difference is also, of course, the size, where we rotate a much smaller body with upright than you do with the gantry. If we look more into future technologies, we see a potential for compact proton systems where you have energy selection close to the patient and thus large spots. You could combine the Bragg peaks of your protons with part of the proton beam shooting through the patient, and at the same time rotating, so the integral dose behind the patient becomes smaller. And what you can then do is also to fit a range detector behind your patient, which would then in real time detect any range errors. So this is a way to both improve plan quality, but also to verify the delivery. And what could be seen for these cases is that you get a nice dose distribution for your combined treatment here to the left, but then you can see also that the shoot-through part is really around the borders of the CTV to sharpen the penumbra around that and closer to the organs at risk. We could move further also and think about ion arcs, so doing the same thing as for protons, but with ions. So you could do helium arcs or carbon arcs, and those gantries are even larger. So to have a feasible solution here, upright is the way to go. And if you take it to the further extreme, is to do this with multi-ions. So you combine many different ions with all their different physical properties to create a very good plan. So one example here is to combine helium, carbon, and oxygen in the same plan with 30 different directions. And what we get is really a record in degrees of freedom. Looking more into detail on the top, we see the dose distribution, which is really conformal. And on the bottom, the LET distribution, where we have a boosted LET directly in the primary CTV. And looking more at the different ions, we get the helium part in the secondary CTV, a lot of the oxygen in the primary CTV, and then carbon distributed all around. And all of this is combined into the optimization. For photons, helical treatments is an exciting application where we see this craniospinal case. We can treat this case with 3 revolutions and just having the same isocenter. So we don't need to do the feed junctions, and we can actually achieve the similar plan quality as a 3 VMAT plan with a different isocenter. And this is just done by translating the patient upwards while doing the rotation. So this is probably a very nice application for like a helical plan. Of course, we could do this for any modality, so this would work also with proton arcs as we see it. If we talk about flash treatments, very high energy electrons is a promising part. This is an example with a long linear accelerator and then ending up with a chair at the end. With this setup, you could do a very high energy electron arc. If you're not interested in the flash effect, you can do arcing techniques. And actually what they did in this study from Lausanne is that they combined the very high energy electrons with flash with VMAT to get a conformal dose distribution at the same time as you get the flash effect. Of course, what you could do is to just replace the VMAT by a VHEE arc to get that part, and then you don't even need to have the photon part in there. Another possibility is to go to a spatially fractionated radiotherapy and combine that with proton arcs. So this is an example where we have clustered out the entrance dose, so you have that spatially fractionated, and you see that along this dose line that you get the peaks and valleys. Inside the target, instead, if we move to the next slide, we have a very uniform distribution here. So you can get the uniform distribution in the target, but spatially fractionated outside the target. And this is achieved by just setting out clusters of spots, and they are separated by 1.8 centimeters in this example case. We had 15 different directions and 360 initial energy layers, and then 240 final energy layers after the optimization. You could also think about lattice techniques where you actually have a very non-uniform dose inside your CTV itself. And this is an example from last year, a study where you have a primary beam and then a robust complementary beam to actually get some robustness into the lattice technique, which without destroying the lattice. But this could actually be achieved in quite a nice manner, I think, by just adding a static arc with 10 to 20 directions here. And then what we do to increase the robustness is that we use the shoot-through enhanced technique, which will not be sensitive to a large extent to range errors. And it will also improve the different parts of the penumbra to get the high peak to value dose ratio. And with this, I just want to end and say that all these like future technologies that I have been talking about are very promising. They are not in clinical practice yet, but I think that Upright can really pave the way for many of these new technologies. So with that, I would like to say thank you for listening.